My name is Olivia Parker, and I have always believed that love should be soft. My mom taught me to be kind to waiters, to smile at the neighbor's old dog, and to speak gently even when my heart is loud. That's me. I say please and thank you. I bake cupcakes for church. I keep extra water bottles in my car for anyone who looks thirsty. Maybe that sounds boring to some people, but I thought kindness was the strongest kind of power a person could carry. That's why when Ethan Brooks told me he loved me, I believed him. He had warm eyes, that easy laugh, a careful way of listening to the ends of my sentences. He called me Liv. He said it like a promise. I said yes to his ring, because I thought our love was soft and safe. I thought it would be a blanket, not a blade. But on our wedding night, he refused to touch me. We were in a hotel near the river, a tall place with glass walls that made the city look like a toy box. The bed was huge, made for falling asleep right in the middle, like a coin inside a fountain. My hair was full of bobby pins and leftover flower petals. My cheeks still felt the heat of strangers' smiles. I was shaky and happy and tired in the sweet way you get after a long day. All I wanted was to be held by my husband. Ethan took off his tie, sighed, and said, "I'm exhausted, Liv. That was a lot." "I know," I said. "Me too." He gave me a careful smile, the kind someone puts on when they're posing for a picture they don't want to take. He took a shower, came out in the hotel robe, and lay on top of the covers like he didn't want to wrinkle them. I laughed and patted the space next to me. He closed his eyes. "I'm just going to rest a second," he mumbled. "Okay," I said. "Come here." But he didn't move. Minutes stretched. The air felt like it was holding its breath. I touched his hand. He pulled it away like I was hot stove. "Ethan?" I asked softly. "Are you okay?" "Yeah," he said, eyes still closed. "Just not tonight, Liv. I'm too tired." He rolled away to the far edge of the mattress, the kind of far that told me not to follow. My head was a ringing shell. I tried to swallow it. This was fine. People got tired. Weddings were long. Maybe he was nervous. Maybe he was scared. Maybe. I stared at the ceiling. The city lights moved lazily across the room like tiny fish. My chest felt tight, like a shirt button trying not to pop. On the nightstand, his phone buzzed. I didn't plan to look. I'm the kind of person who puts a candy wrapper in my pocket if I can't find a trash can. I don't push doors that say pull. But the phone lit up again and again, 3 buzzing taps, then another. Something inside me, small and sharp, looked up from the bottom of the well. I turned my head. The phone was face down but not locked. His thumbprint didn't matter. It had popped open on the last notification. There was a gray bubble on the screen with a laughing emoji and a gold trophy. Under it, a line of text. Clock started. Don't wimp out. Payment clears at midnight. The room went quiet inside my ears, like being underwater. Another buzz. Send proof, someone wrote. And then, check the folder. We built you a scoreboard. A scoreboard? I looked at Ethan. He was breathing slow, like a child pretending to sleep. The blanket rose and fell. My wedding band was too bright on my hand. I reached for the phone. My fingers were steady, like they belonged to someone else. I opened the message thread. It was a group chat named Last Laugh. 5 names I recognized from groomsmen, and one I didn't. Mason Bank. A shower of gold confetti gifts filled the screen. Photos of the reception. A picture of me hugging my aunt. A clip of Ethan giving a toast with a smirk I didn't know he had. Then a pinned message at the top, from 2 weeks ago. Rules. No touching the bride on the wedding night. No kissing. No oops. If you make her cry, bonus points. If she begs, jackpot. Video proof required. I stopped breathing. At the top right, next to the chat name, there was a tiny folder icon. I tapped it. It opened to a simple page with a single line. Tonight. I tapped that. A video thumbnail appeared. It was Ethan's face in the groom's suite, hours before the ceremony. He looked straight into the camera and grinned. He held up his hands like a referee. "All right," he said. "Game on." I pressed play. The video started to move. Then the hotel room door beeped. Someone swiped a key. I dropped the phone like it burned me. The door opened a few inches and clicked shut again, as if someone had changed their mind and left, or as if they were standing right there listening. My heart slammed so hard I felt it in my teeth. I turned my head slowly.
Ethan?
He didn't move. His back was still turned. The hallway was quiet again. The air conditioner hummed like it didn't care about my life. I stared at the door. I stared at Ethan. I stared at the phone, face up now, the paused video catching the light like a knife. The timer bar across the bottom waited for my thumb. My throat whispered, "Don't watch it." My heart said, "Watch it." I watched. The first sentence cut the room in half. $50,000, Ethan said to the camera. Easy money. And that is where I stopped the introduction. Because before I tell you what else I saw in that phone, I need you to understand the road that led me there. The soft road I thought we were walking together. The one that turned hard without telling me. Stories like this don't start in a hotel room. They start with small choices, with small kindnesses, and with people who smile when they are thinking of something else. I met Ethan on a Sunday afternoon at a food pantry in Dayton. I was handing out grocery bags. He was in charge of the canned corn. He made a dumb joke about how no one ever picks the beets first, and I laughed because I always pick the beets first. He noticed that. He noticed everything then. We talked while stacking boxes, while writing names on clipboards, while sweeping the floor after everyone left. He told me his dad moved a lot for work when he was a kid, that he never stayed long enough to keep friends, that he liked how the pantry felt like a small town inside a big city. I told him I liked puzzles and baking and that I cried at dog commercials. He didn't tease me. We spent weeks volunteering together. We folded brown bags into neat stacks. He walked me to my car. He texted me good morning as if the day would not rise unless he spoke to it first. He asked me to dinner, and it was simple. Burgers and milkshakes at a place with sticky tables and a jukebox that didn't work. He asked gentle questions. He remembered my answers. He said, "I like that you listen." Our first fight was about nothing. I burned cookies and he said, "They're fine," in a way that meant, "They're not fine, and I'm annoyed we're still standing here."
He stared at his phone a lot.
He always put it face down. Once, when it buzzed over and over, I joked, "Is it your secret wife?" He smiled and said, "If it is, she's very patient." I brushed it away. People brush away more than crumbs when they love someone. His friends were loud. They liked big nights and bigger bets, who could eat the hottest wings, who could run the longest on a treadmill, who could talk their way behind the bar and pour a drink like they owned the place. I told myself I didn't have to like his friends. I only had to love him. But I heard the way they laughed sometimes, sharp and mean. I told myself they were just boys being boys, that awful, lazy phrase that lets you ignore the splinter in your finger. Until it's part of your skin. Ethan proposed under a streetlight in December. Snow fell like pieces of tissue paper. He wore no gloves. He shook as he held the ring. His nose was pink. I remember thinking, this is a person who feels the cold and does it anyway. That has to be love. I said yes, and everyone cheered, and my mom cried, and my dad hugged him long enough to pass over the invisible weight of caring for me. Wedding planning makes your world smaller and louder. There were napkins to pick, cake flavors to test, a cousin who felt unspecial because her table number was too high, a seamstress who tried to make my dress into someone else's dream, then apologized and fixed it. Ethan was helpful and not. He picked the art for the invitations, small watercolor leaves, and then missed 3 vendor calls in a row. I made the to-do lists and checked them twice and told myself this is what partnership looks like. The person who remembers to breathe while the other person runs. The week before the wedding, Ethan got quiet. He went out with his friends to get the dumb out, he said. He came home late and smelled like a bar. He pulled me close and kissed me soft but not long. "I'm just stressed," he said. "I don't want to mess this up." His phone kept buzzing in the night. He silenced it and slid it under his pillow. I told myself it was work. I told myself we only needed to make it to the wedding day, then everything would settle into a happy shape. The morning of the wedding, I woke before my alarm. I lay there and listened to the house breathe around me. My gown hung from the closet door like a long, white cloud. My mom made pancakes and told me to eat at least two. She dabbed at the corners of her eyes with a tissue while pretending to be mad about butter on the counter. My dad made a joke about how I could still back out, that the car gas tank was full. We all laughed. My friends came over with coffees and a speaker for music. We curled hair and glued on lashes and took pictures and said, "Oh my gosh, you look like a dream." Every time I looked in the mirror, I tried to recognize the bride as me. The ceremony was warm. The pastor mispronounced Brooks, and everyone giggled. Ethan cried during his vase, which felt like sunlight going straight through my chest. He said I made him want to be softer. He said I was his home. We kissed, and everyone clapped, and the music rose, and we danced until the carpet was full of invisible footprints. When we cut the cake, he smeared a tiny bit on my nose and then wiped it away with his thumb, tender like a promise. If there were cracks, I couldn't see them. Maybe that was the trick of the day. The light was so bright that shadows hid in plain sight. After the reception, we went back to the hotel in a car covered with "Just Married" paint and hearts drawn by sticky-fingered nieces. The elevator ride-up felt like floating. The hallway smelled like lemons and new carpet. Inside the room, I took off my shoes and felt small and brave at the same time. My husband smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He loosened his tie like he was bored instead of nervous. He said he was tired. He turned away. All that sweetness turned to salt in my mouth.
His phone buzzed.
And you already know what I saw when I looked. A group chat like a stage, rules like handcuffs, a folder with a video called "Tonight," my husband grinning at the camera, saying the number 50,000 like it was a magic word. Now I must tell you something small that matters. If you have ever been hurt in one sharp second, you know about the slow seconds after. They pass like old cars on a road with no gas stations, loud, long, and useless. I watched the rest of that video in those seconds. I watched Ethan nod along while someone off camera said, "No touching. Make her cry." I watched him repeat the rules with a smile like a dare. I watched him practice a tired sigh, the same one he gave me on the bed. He did it twice, once with a little eye roll to the left because he liked how that looked. I paused the video right there. My hands went very cold. A new message landed at the top of the screen. It was from Mason Bank. It said, "Half released. Balance at midnight. Clock still ticking. Need proof." Another message flashed. "Live cry yet?"
Put the phone on the nightstand, mic on.
"We want to hear it. Don't chicken out, Brooks." I didn't feel my face. I didn't feel my neck. I felt the kind of quiet a person hears just before they faint. But I did not faint. I stood up very slowly and walked to the bathroom. The tile under my bare feet was cold and exact. I put the phone on the counter. I looked at my reflection. The bride looked back, her hair soft around her face, eyes rimmed with brown liner, lips the color named honeysuckle. I was pretty. I was also a woman someone thought was a game. I washed my face. I took out every bobby pin one by one. They clicked into the sink like tiny bones. I breathed. I told myself I would not beg for kindness from a person who rented it out by the hour. I told myself kindness could be armor, too. When I came out of the bathroom, Ethan was still on the bed. His back was to me. The city lights now draped the walls like thin blankets. The phone in my hand buzzed again. A long buzz like a call. Unknown number. No contact name. Just a simple message preview across the top. Don't let him touch you. Check notes. My fingers shook. Not from fear, but from something new and hard waking up. I opened the Notes app. It wasn't a grocery list or a work to do. It was a single note labeled pledge. Inside was a sentence written in Ethan's voice, the style I knew. "I will not touch Olivia tonight. I will not be moved by tears. Payment clears at 12:01. Underneath, a screenshot of a bank transfer draft. $50,000. Memo line, the no-touch challenge. And then one more line beneath that like a nail in wood. Proof, make her beg. The room tilted. The bed frame suddenly felt like a cliff edge. My heart hit the inside of my ribs with steady, heavy knocks. I looked at Ethan's back. I looked at the note again, then at the unknown number on the lock screen. Whoever sent that message knew. Whoever it was, they were either a warning or a trap. I slid the phone into the hotel robe pocket, walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, and pushed the curtain aside so the city lights splashed over the room like a river. I needed the light. I needed the truth to stand naked. There are highs and there are lows. Here's a low. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake him awake and ask how he could speak vows in daylight and then read rules in secret. I wanted the pastor back, unkissed and unpromised. But I did none of those things. I stood very still and felt something else rise inside me, slow as a tide, a plan. That was the first kindness I gave myself that night. I did not make my pain his lesson. I made it my map. I walked to the nightstand and picked up the hotel's little notepad. I wrote, "I know." That was all. I folded it twice and slipped it halfway under his phone charger, so the corner stuck out like a white flag that could also be a knife. My own phone sat at the bottom of my purse near the door. I took it out and opened the voice recorder app. I pressed record. I set it on the vanity where it could hear the room breathe. I didn't know exactly what I would do, but I knew I would not be the one crying into a microphone for a bonus point. I took a step toward the bed to wake him, and that's when the door beeped again. The handle turned. The door swung open this time, wide and sure, not shy like before. A man stepped into our suite in a black suit that didn't belong to the hotel. He closed the door softly behind him, then looked up and met my eyes. He was one of Ethan's groomsmen. Not the loudest one, the quiet one. The one who held doors and said, "Congrats, Liv," in a way that sounded like a real sentence. His name, I remember now, was Daniel. In his hand, he held a small black pouch with a gold drawstring. It looked like the kind of bag you keep jewelry in. Or money. He nodded at me once, like we had a plan together I didn't know about. "Midnight delivery," he said in a voice too calm for any of this. "For the winner." My throat closed. Daniel took one step forward, and then another, and then he set the pouch on the dresser beside my wedding bouquet, still fresh and full of blush roses. Ethan stirred on the bed. Daniel turned his head toward the sound. And the phone in my pocket buzzed again, a known number, the same as before, lighting up my robe with a square of white light. Daniel's eyes dropped to the glow at my hip. His face changed. "Don't answer that," he said, very soft. Then the suite's landline rang. Sharp, sudden, loud enough to cut the night in two. The hotel landline rang like a scream cutting through glass. I froze. Daniel froze. Even Ethan stirred, but didn't wake. The sound drilled into the walls until I couldn't tell if it was outside me or inside me. Daniel's eyes stayed locked on mine. He shook his head once, a slow warning, and reached for the phone before I could move. He lifted the receiver and pressed it to his ear. "Yeah," he said quietly, like someone taking instructions. I couldn't hear the other end. Only Daniel's face changed. His lips pressed together. His free hand curled into a fist. He listened for a long time, then finally said, "Understood." He hung up. The room went silent again except for Ethan's soft snore. Daniel turned to me. His voice was low, steady, dangerous. "You don't want to know who that was." I swallowed hard. "Tell me anyway." His eyes softened for half a second, then hardened again.
"Not now."
"But you need to get out of this room before midnight." The words landed heavy. Midnight. The same time on the phone messages. The same time Ethan's payout was set to clear. "Why?" My voice cracked in the middle. Daniel glanced at Ethan's back. "Because this isn't just about a stupid game anymore. It never was." A less extreme moment followed. Daniel pulled the curtains fully closed, cutting the city lights from the room. He unplugged the landline cord from the wall and tossed it aside. Then he looked at me, calmer, almost gentle. "I'm not your friend," he admitted. "But I'm not your enemy either. I don't like what they're doing. That's why I'm here." My chest rose and fell too fast. "What do you mean, they?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small flash drive. He placed it on the dresser beside the black pouch. "Everything you need to know is on this," he said. "But if you open it now, you'll never leave this hotel alive." I blinked. Alive? The word didn't belong in this room with roses and ribbons and leftover champagne. But Daniel didn't look like he was joking. Before I could respond, Ethan rolled over. His eyes blinked open. He looked at Daniel, then at me. And in that one instant, the room cracked open. "What the hell are you doing here?" Ethan's voice was sharp, stripped of all the softness I'd known. Daniel didn't flinch. "Delivering your prize." He tapped the pouch with one finger. "But she saw the messages, Brooks. She knows." Ethan sat up, his robe falling loose around him. His face went pale, then red, then something in between. He looked at me, his eyes wide and wild. "Liv," he stammered, "it's not what you think." But before he could finish, the hotel room door burst open again. This time it wasn't quiet. The metal slammed against the wall. Two men in dark suits walked in, their shoes heavy on the carpet. They didn't knock. They didn't pause. One of them said, "Payment verified. Midnight rules still apply." And just like that, the extreme event took over the room. The door clicked shut behind them. Ethan jumped to his feet. I clutched the phone in my pocket so tightly my fingers ached. Daniel stepped slightly in front of me, like a shield he didn't mean to be. The taller man pulled a small silver device from his jacket pocket. It looked like a voice recorder, or maybe something worse. He set it on the table with a soft thud. "Let's get started," he said. The landline rang like an alarm in a dream. Loud, wrong, and too close. I flinched so hard my shoulder hit the window. Daniel moved faster than thought, crossed the room, and lifted the receiver before the second ring finished. His voice was low and even, the way you talk to a frightened child or a loose wire. "Hello." Static breathed back at him, and then a voice I didn't know said, calm as ice, "Midnight check." Daniel's eyes flicked to me. "Wrong room," he said, soft but firm. "Try again." He set the receiver gently in its cradle and unplugged the cord from the wall with two quick pulls, as if the phone were a snake that needed its fangs removed. Ethan stirred on the bed. His back rose and fell. He wasn't asleep, I knew that now. He was listening, measuring, setting traps in his head. A less extreme hush slipped in. The air conditioner hummed. Far below, a siren slid down the street and faded. I used the quiet to breathe. I pressed my palms together until my knuckles warmed. I remember my mother's voice in the church kitchen the night before. "Be kind even when the room is not. Be kind and be clear." When I looked up, Daniel was watching me. Not in a hungry way, not in a pitying way either, but like a person checking a compass before a wrong turn. He held out his hand, and for a second, I didn't know what he wanted. Then I felt the square of light at my hip, Ethan's phone in the robe pocket, still warm from the messages that had turned my wedding into a dare. "May I?" Daniel asked. Every part of me wanted to say no. Every part of me wanted to clutch the proof until it became a stone I could throw. But another part, the quiet part that had carried me through long pantry lines and longer afternoons with people who needed gentleness more than groceries, told me to stay steady. To look for the shape of a way out, not the heat of a fight. I gave him the phone. He didn't scroll like a thief. He tapped once, then twice, then opened the note I'd already read. The ugly pledge. The 99-cent font. The screenshot of a pending $50,000 transfer with the no-touch challenge on the memo line. His mouth barely moved, but I saw the shadow of a wince. "Who sent the unknown text?" I asked, voice low. "The one that said, 'Don't let him touch you. Check notes.'" Daniel shook his head. "Not me."
A beat.
"But someone who doesn't want you hurt, apparently. Do you?" He looked from the phone to me, then back again. "That's a bigger question than we have time for." He slid the phone back into my hand. "What do you want, Olivia?" I stared at the glowing screen. The answer should have been simple. I wanted my husband to be decent. I wanted my vows to matter. I wanted my life back from the hands that were counting it like chips on a table. But wishes are too soft when you're standing on hard ground. "I want him to choose me without being told," I said. "And if he won't, I want to walk out of here with the truth in my pocket and my head high." "Then we buy time," Daniel said. "And we keep you safe." Ethan rolled over. His eyes opened, clear and alert, The way someone looks when they've been pretending to sleep, and the act is tiresome. His face went through 3 expressions in one breath: surprise, annoyance, calculation. "Liv," he said quickly, as if speed could erase facts.
Hey.
"You're up. Dan, what are you doing here?" "Delivering a message," Daniel said. "From who?" "From the part of you that used to be human." Ethan's mouth tilted into that careful smile I once mistook for kindness. "Let's not be dramatic." He flicked a look at me, quick and sharp. "Liv, whatever you think you saw." "I didn't think," I said quietly. "I watched." I pointed to the phone. "Your rules. Your pledge. Your price." For a second, a real second, his face sagged. The mask slipped. I saw the boy whose father moved him from school to school, the man who hates being left out of any table where people are laughing too loud. Then he gathered the pieces and put the mask back on, neat and tidy. "I panicked," he said. "The guys were pushing. It was dumb. I was going to stop. I am stopping." He nodded like a salesman closing a deal with himself. "There's no proof. I didn't touch you, but I didn't hurt you either. We can just forget this." Forget. The word landed like dust on wet paint. Nothing stuck. A less extreme beat. I sat on the edge of the chair by the window. I folded my hands in my lap to keep them from shaking and spoke the way I talk to kids when they're trying to lie about stealing extra cookies. "If you're stopping, you can prove it. Text your friends. End the game. Return the money." Ethan's eyes slid to the nightstand where the little black pouch sat, its gold string loose like a tongue. "That's not," he swallowed. "It's complicated." "Tell me slowly," I said. "I listen." He rubbed his face. "It's not just the guys. Mason set it up." "Mason Bank," I said. "The name from the chat. The one who wrote, 'Payment clears at midnight.'" "Yeah," Ethan said, eyes on the carpet. He liked the idea. It was supposed to be a joke at first, no touching the bride, haha, dumb bachelor nonsense. Then Mason started talking like a sponsor. "He knows people. He said if we made it a challenge, other guys would do it too. There's a leaderboard." His voice got very small. "There's a pool." The city felt far away, a fake painting in another room. "Return the money," I repeated. Ethan looked up, and for a second I saw fear, real fear, the kind that makes people make bad choices. "I can't." He glanced at Daniel, quick as a pinprick. "You know I can't." Daniel didn't look away. "You won't." "Same thing tonight," Ethan muttered. "No," I said. "Not the same thing. One is a choice. The other is a confession." The landline unplugged, stayed silent this time. But Ethan's phone buzzed in my hand, so hard it felt like a small animal trying to escape. A banner slid across the top of the screen from the last laugh, chat, clock check. 10 minutes to midnight. Status? My stomach dropped. The room suddenly had walls again. Time had come in and set its watch on our dresser. "Put on Do Not Disturb," Daniel said calmly. I did. Another buzz came through anyway, a different number, unknown. A single line lit the screen. "Liv, do not let him make you cry. Open photos, shared tonight." My fingers moved without asking me. I tapped photos. I tapped shared. A new album waited for me with a thumbnail I didn't recognize. The hotel hallway from above, as if seen from a ceiling camera. I opened it. A short clip started to play. It was us, me, Ethan, and Daniel, 30 seconds ago, frozen and moving at the same time, our shapes like chess pieces on a too bright board. No sound, just a clear image, stamped with time in white text, 11:51 p.m. "Where did that come from?" I whispered. "Someone's watching," Daniel said.
"Who?"
My voice cracked. He shook his head. "Not here." A less extreme moment pressed in on the edges of panic. I thought about the food pantry again, the way we write names carefully, how we respect people's stories by not sharing them like gossip. I thought about the lesson my dad taught me when he built our backyard fence. Measure twice, cut once. Don't rush when you're about to change something you can't unchange. I measured the room. The door. The heavy bed. The open curtains spilling the city, like spilled soda. I measured the people. A husband who wanted me to break. A friend who wanted me to bend. A stranger who wanted to keep score. Okay, I said at last, and my voice surprised me by being steady. We're going to do 3 things. 1, we're going to stop the recording device in this room, if there's one. I walked to the dresser and lifted the hotel's tiny Bluetooth speaker, then the alarm clock, then the lamp. Nothing. I looked up at the smoke detector blinking a lazy green, and at the sprinkler head like a metal iris. 2, we're going to make our own record. I crossed to the vanity, unlocked my phone, and set the voice recorder back down where it could catch the whole world. And 3, we're going to buy time.
How?
Ethan scoffed. With a prayer? With a lie you can live with, I said. His jaw clenched. What do you want me to say? Tell them you made me cry, I said, and my stomach turned even as I said it. Send a message that sounds like victory. You don't have to send a video. Your rules say proof, but your chat is sloppy. They want the story first. They'll wait for the file. That gives me 10 minutes. Maybe 15. 15 for what? Ethan asked. To decide whether I walk out with a lawyer, I said, or with the police. Silence blew through the room and rattled the curtains. Ethan's eyes narrowed. You wouldn't. And you thought I wouldn't look at your phone, I said softly. We're both learning new things tonight. He stepped toward me, hands open, mouth softening into an old shape. Liv, don't ruin this. I laughed once, a sound that didn't sound like me. This is already ruined. I'm trying to stop the rot from spreading. He looked at Daniel. I thought you were on my side. I'm on the side that lets me sleep, Daniel said. Start typing, Brooks. A less extreme shuffle as Ethan took the phone from me and opened the chat. His thumbs hovered. He typed, status, green.
She cried.
Holding for upload. He stared at it like it was a cliff he might fall from. Send it, Daniel said. Ethan hit send. Immediately, confetti gifts rained down the screen. Fireworks. A money bag. A gold medal. A reply from Mason. Bank. Timer paused. File in 5 or we unpause. Balance at 12:01. I breathed out. 5 minutes was not a lot. But it was a small hallway between 2 locked rooms, and I could run fast down hallways when I had to. I need the flash drive, I said to Daniel. He pulled it from his pocket, the one he'd set by the pouch earlier, and then palmed again when the phone started screaming.
He placed it in my hand.
It was warm and surprisingly heavy, like it had been waiting to be useful. What's on it? I asked. He rubbed his jaw. Enough. Messages. Screenshots. A list of challenges.
Names.
Payments. Not just tonight's. He glanced at Ethan. You weren't the first. My chest hollowed and then filled with something bright and hard. I thought of all the girls who had smiled in wedding photos and then gone upstairs to become a tally mark. I thought of kindness, the real kind, the kind that draws lines around harm and says no more. What's the plan? Daniel asked. Step 1, I said. You both step into the hallway. I need a minute to protect myself. Ethan laughed, tight and mean. Not a chance. Then I'll call the police right now, I said, lifting my phone. And I'll tell them there are men in my room trying to make me cry for money. He stared at me, shocked, like I'd spoken a language he didn't know I could speak. Daniel put a hand on Ethan's shoulder. Give her 60 seconds. Ethan hesitated. Then he rolled his eyes and moved to the door in a showy stride, the robe dragging at his ankles like a curtain that didn't want to close. Daniel followed. The door clicked. I was alone. A less extreme minute, thin and real. I moved fast. I pulled the desk chair under the smoke detector and climbed up. I unscrewed the little plastic face with my nails, careful, the way I prune thorns from roses. A tiny black dot blinked inside, the kind of eye that sees everything and nothing. I covered it with a bandage from my purse, one small strip of kindness doing a violent job. I climbed down and shoved the chair back without a sound. Then I opened my phone and sent a message to my mother. I'm safe. Call me in 10 minutes and ask for the front desk. If I don't answer, call 911 and give them my room number. Her reply came in a second. Are you okay? Yes, I typed.
No.
I'm making it okay. I put the flash drive in my bra like a coin people sew into hems for luck. I took one more breath. I checked the time. 11:58. Then I opened the door. The hallway was beige and too bright. Ethan leaned against the wall, thumbs twitching like junkyard dogs. Daniel stood straight, hands loose, eyes on me.
Done.
Ethan asked.
For now, I said.
Here's what happens next. You're going to text your group again and say the file is too large, the hotel Wi-Fi is slow, and you'll upload from the lobby business center. They'll wait to see you move. That's fine. We'll move. And while we move, you'll tell me the truth, start to finish. No edits.
And if I don't, he said.
Then we do this the loud way, I said. You can explain the rules of your game to a night manager. Or a cop. He swallowed. We started walking. Our footsteps sounded like a second hand in an empty clock. The elevator at the end of the hall blinked its small, patient arrows. I pressed the button. The doors began to open. And that is when the extreme event found us again. My phone lit up with a new shared photo. Not a hallway now. Not a ceiling view. A live shot from inside the elevator, captured as the doors parted. Two men already standing there in suits that didn't belong to this hotel, each with an earpiece pressed flat against the side of his head. The caption sat on the image in white text like a smile. Midnight's here. Send the proof. The door slid fully apart, revealing the exact men from the picture, waiting, still and ready, eyes on us. The hallway felt 1,000 miles long and 3 feet wide at the same time. I reached out without thinking and found Daniel's sleeve. He did not shake me off. Ethan inhaled sharply, then smoothed his robe like a man about to step onto a stage. After you, one of the suits said, voice light as sugar. Let's ride. The two men in suits stood inside the elevator, their shoulders square, their eyes sharp and cold. The door stayed open as if the building itself wanted me to step inside, to seal myself into a metal box with strangers who already knew too much. I didn't move. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. Ethan took one casual step forward like this was just another ride down to the lobby. He straightened his robe, smoothed his hair, and even forced a smile. Gentlemen, he said, his voice fake warm. Perfect timing. Daniel's arm shot out and blocked him. Wait, he said. His voice wasn't loud, but it was enough to freeze Ethan mid-step. The shorter of the two men tilted his head at me. You're Olivia. He said it like he'd been waiting to meet me all along. I nodded, though my throat felt dry as paper. He smiled without showing teeth. We don't have much time. Midnight's already ticking. He tapped his wristwatch. Upload or deliver. No exceptions. A less extreme moment slipped in, a silence that stretched like gum between us. The elevator doors started to close, then opened again as one of the men pressed the button to keep them wide. The hum of the machinery filled the space, steady and cruel. I forced myself to breathe. What happens if we don't? I asked. The taller man leaned forward slightly. Then the contract changes, he said. His tone was even, like he was reading off a grocery list. We collect in person. And, trust me, you'd rather cry for him than for us. The words cut through me like a cold wind. Daniel stepped closer to me, just enough so I could feel the steadiness in his frame. Not happening, he said. His hand hovered near his pocket like he had something hidden there, something that could tip the balance if he chose. Ethan laughed nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. Look, let's not make this messy. We'll go downstairs, send them the file, and it'll be fine. Right, Liv? I turned to him slowly, my eyes burning. Fine. My voice shook. Do you really think anything about this is fine? For a moment, he looked like the boy who used to hand out canned corn with me at the pantry. Awkward, smiling, hoping to be liked. But then the mask slid back on, the same greedy mask I had seen in his video pledge. The extreme event came fast. The shorter man reached into his jacket and pulled out a slim black folder. He opened it just enough for me to see what was inside, printed photos. My breath caught. On top was a picture of me. Not from today, not from the wedding. From months ago. I was walking out of class with my laptop bag slung over my shoulder, my hair tied back, smiling at nothing. Beneath that, another photo. Me at the grocery store comparing prices of cereal boxes. Another. Me unlocking the door to my apartment. My knees almost gave out. How? My voice cracked. How did you get these? The man tucked the folder shut again. We've always been watching, he said simply. The game starts long before you know it does. The hallway spun. Daniel's hand brushed my elbow, steadying me before I fell. Ethan's face went pale, then twisted with anger, not at them, but at me. You weren't supposed to see that, he hissed under his breath. My heart turned to stone. Betrayal sat heavy in my chest. I was no longer just a wife with a broken heart. I was prey in a trap I hadn't seen being built around me. The taller man stepped aside and gestured into the elevator, his voice calm as ever. It's time, Mrs. Brooks. Ride with us. Or things get very public. The lights above the elevator blinked once. The red numbers ticked. 11:59. Midnight was seconds away. Daniel looked at me, his jaw set. Your call, he whispered. I tightened my grip on the flash drive hidden in my bra. My mind raced. If I stepped inside that elevator, I might never step out. But if I stayed here, they would push harder, drag the truth out in ways I wasn't ready for. The countdown had already begun. And just as the doors began to close again, the landline in our room, unplugged and dead minutes ago, rang out loud and sharp behind us. The sound made everyone turn their heads at once. The ring of the hotel landline sliced through the air like a blade. We all froze, the men in suits inside the elevator, Daniel stiff beside me, Ethan shifting nervously from one foot to the other. The sound was wrong, impossible. I had seen Daniel yank the cord from the wall with my own eyes. The phone was dead. Yet the bell kept screaming, each ring louder, sharper, until it sounded less like a call and more like a countdown. The taller man's face tightened. Ignore it, he ordered, his voice firm but just a little too quick. It's a trick. But my heart said otherwise. I couldn't explain why, but I knew that phone was ringing for me. Without waiting for anyone's permission, I spun on my heels and sprinted down the hall toward the suite. My heels pounded against the carpet, my chest burning, my thoughts wild. Behind me, I heard Ethan curse, Daniel call my name, and one of the suited men bark an order. But I didn't stop. I slammed back into the room and grabbed the receiver. Hello. My voice cracked. For a moment, there was only static. Then a woman's voice, soft and steady, slid through the line. Olivia, listen carefully. Do not go with them. Do not get in that elevator. And don't trust your husband. My blood went cold. Who is this? I whispered. You don't know me, the voice replied. But I've been where you are. And I can help you if you do exactly what I say. A less extreme quiet wrapped around me, heavy but strange, like the moment before a thunderstorm. My hand shook against the receiver. Why should I trust you? Because, the woman said, I was the first bride. And I survived. The words slammed into me, stealing my breath. My free hand clutched the edge of the nightstand to keep from collapsing. The first bride. She knew the game. She knew the rules. She knew Ethan. I closed my eyes, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill. Crying now would mean they had won.
I wouldn't give them that.
What do? I asked. The woman's voice stayed calm. Stay in the room. Lock the door. There's a vent above the bathroom mirror. Inside, you'll find a second flash drive. Everything you need to destroy them is on it.
Don't let Ethan see it.
Don't let the suits near it. Hold out until morning. That's when their power ends. The line clicked dead before I could ask another question. I lowered the receiver slowly, my hand trembling. My reflection in the dark TV screen looked back at me, pale, frightened, but also burning with something new. Not just survival. Revenge. A pounding on the door snapped me out of it. Ethan's voice shouted from the hallway. Liv, open up. Don't listen to them. We can fix this. Daniel's voice followed, lower but urgent. Olivia, choose carefully. They won't wait forever. And then the extreme event slammed into the room. The lock on the suite door beeped and clicked. Someone had a key card. The handle twisted slowly. I stumbled back, clutching the hidden flash drive in my bra and staring at the bathroom where the vent waited. The door creaked open. The door creaked open with a slow, dragging sound, as if the hotel itself knew this was no ordinary guest returning. My pulse hammered so hard I thought the walls might hear it. The electronic lock blinked green, then faded to nothing. Ethan stepped in first, his robe half-tied, his face tight with panic and greed all at once. Behind him loomed the two suited men, their presence swallowing the room like a shadow stretching across the floor. Daniel entered last, eyes sharp, scanning every corner like he expected an ambush. I backed up until my calves touched the edge of the bed. The air between us was so heavy I could barely breathe. Ethan raised his hands, palms out, like he was the peacemaker here. "Liv," he said, his voice trembling with urgency. "I don't know who called you, but they're lying. There was no first bride. It's just a trick to scare you." The shorter-suited man smirked. "Smart girl, answering that phone. Smarter than he is." He jerked his chin toward Ethan. "But don't let fairy tales distract you. You've got 5 minutes left to deliver proof, or this gets ugly." Daniel shot him a look. "Enough. She's not part of your game anymore." The taller man gave a cold laugh. "Everyone's part of the game until the clock runs out." A less extreme silence pressed in again. My chest rose and fell too quickly, and for a second, I thought I might break down right there. But then I remembered the woman's voice. I was the first bride, and I survived. I swallowed hard, steadied my hands, and said quietly, "I want to freshen up before we continue." I pointed toward the bathroom. 2 minutes. Alone. Ethan frowned. "Liv, there's no time." "There's time for my dignity," I snapped, sharper than I'd ever spoken to him. My tone startled even me. The taller man studied me for a moment, then shrugged. 2 minutes. Door stays open. I nodded, hiding the rush of relief. That was all I needed. I slipped into the bathroom, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead. My reflection stared back at me. Pale skin, smeared makeup, eyes too wide, but inside, a new fire was burning. I climbed onto the sink, stretched my hand above the mirror, and pried at the vent cover with shaking fingers. It gave way with a soft click. Dust sprinkled down onto my face, but I didn't care. I reached inside, heart thudding, until my fingers brushed against something hard and smooth. A flash drive.
Just like she said.
I pulled it out and shoved it quickly into my bra beside the first one. 2 pieces of evidence, now. 2 blades hidden close to my heart. I hopped down from the sink just as the shorter man barked from the doorway. "Time's up." I opened the door, schooling my face into calm. But then the extreme event struck like lightning. Ethan lunged at me, his eyes wild, his hand diving straight for my chest where the drives were hidden. Daniel shouted, "Don't." The suits stepped forward. Ethan's hand slammed against my chest, his fingers clawing for the hidden flash drives. My back hit the bathroom doorframe with a crack that rattled my teeth. His face was twisted, desperate, not like the man who once brushed powdered sugar from my lips at the diner, but like a stranger who saw me as nothing but an obstacle to his prize. "Give it to me, Liv," he snarled. His voice broke, half rage, half fear. I shoved him back with all the strength in my arms. "No," I screamed, my voice shaking the air. "Not this time. Not ever again." Daniel lunged between us, shoving Ethan so hard he tumbled into the bedpost. The suits moved in quickly, like wolves circling prey, their hands twitching near their jackets. I didn't want to imagine what they were reaching for. The taller one barked, "Enough games. Proof. Now." Ethan scrambled up from the floor, pointing at me with wild eyes. "She's got it. She's hiding it." The suits froze. Ethan's mouth opened and closed like a fish. My breath caught in my throat. Daniel's eyes flicked to me. "Olivia, do you trust me?" I didn't answer right away. How could I, after everything? But then I remembered his steady hand when I almost fell, his voice cutting through Ethan's lies, the way he stood like a shield between me and danger when no one else would. I nodded once. "Yes, His jaw tightened, and for the first time that night, I saw something like relief flicker across his face. The suits exchanged a glance. The taller one sneered. "You don't know what you're doing, Daniels. This goes higher than you. Higher than all of us." "I know enough," Daniel shot back. "And I've got the proof in her hands to burn every last one of you." The extreme event came crashing down. The shorter man lunged forward, faster than I expected. Daniel fired once. The gunshot shattered the hotel room, deafening and sharp. The man collapsed to the floor, clutching his shoulder, blood spreading fast across the carpet. The taller one cursed and grabbed Ethan by the arm. "Time's up. He comes with us." Ethan screamed, thrashing against his grip.
No.
"Don't leave me with her. She'll ruin everything." Daniel raised the gun again, aiming squarely. "Let him go." But before another word could be spoken, the hotel's fire alarm shrieked to life, red lights strobing across the ceiling, sprinklers bursting overhead. Water poured down on us all, soaking hair, clothes, and the money still scattered across the bed. Chaos exploded in every corner of the room, shouts, footsteps, smoke from the gun curling in the wet air. And through it all, I clutched the flash drives to my chest, feeling their weight, knowing they carried not just my truth, but the truth of every woman before me. This was no longer just survival. This was the moment the game ended.